Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. My name is Jessie Haas. I am the Senior National Director of the Therapy Animal Program at Pet Partners. Thanks so much for coming to this live. This is something we do quarterly. It's just a roundup of news and announcements from the Therapy Animal Program for our volunteers and our prospective volunteers. So we hop on here every couple of months and try to get you up to speed on some things that have been happening at Pet Partners and in the program. So I have a few things I do want to share with you today. Shouldn't take more than about 10 minutes, but then if you have any questions, concerns, comments about what I share or about other topics, other things on your mind about Pet Partners or your volunteerism, absolutely, you can drop those in the comments as much as you would like. This is a time for me to be available to you all on the things that matter most to you. Before I get started, always helpful for me to know where you're from. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you just heard my dog, JJ. She decided to just make one of those groans that dogs make when they fall asleep. I know many of you can probably identify with that. I would love to know where you're from, what kind of animal you have, as well as where you are at in your journey with Pet Partners. So if you're a current volunteer, obviously, thank you for coming. Always valuable to hear your input, and maybe you can share some experiences that relate to the topics I'm going to be talking about today. If you're a prospective volunteer, I'd like to know that as well. If you're not quite yet registered, but thinking about joining us with your animal, always helpful to know that. And then if you're just somebody who's from the general public and wants to know about Pet Partners, happy to have you here too. So please feel free to type that in the comments so I know who it is I'm talking to. Otherwise, it feels like I'm just talking to myself. The first thing I wanted to talk about is a holiday happening. I was about to say happening next month, but it already is February, if you can believe it, the month of Valentine's Day. Many of our volunteers on or around that day during that week will often do a kind of a themed visit related to the holiday. For example, there's a group of volunteers who are going to be visiting with their animals at a university, and they are going to be creating Valentines for themselves and the community. I'm sure there's going to be lots of cute paw prints all over those Valentines. So really cute idea to sort of celebrate the holiday. We encourage our volunteers to consider doing that if appropriately. It's always a nice way to change up visits. But along with that, a reminder, we don't allow costumes on therapy animal visits for the animals. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We covered this several months ago, I think around Halloween, but I'm just going to cover it again because it's something people often have a lot of questions about when there's a holiday coming up. We don't allow costumes first and foremost because they often contain zippers, buckles, clips, snaps, buttons, and all of those things, especially when you're visiting with very young people or elderly people, can create some safety concerns around scratches and pinches and things like that. There's also the need to really well launder costumes. It just adds one more thing that we need to be mindful of bringing into, especially a situation where people are immunocompromised. Another reason is we know there's many pets who absolutely can tolerate being in a costume. It can be really fun to dress them up and take a picture in your own home. But just remember, a visit is an hour or two. It's a long time to wear a costume. The animal is also processing a lot of distractions, a lot of people wanting their attention. So the costume, again, when we're thinking about animal well-being, is just another layer for them to kind of have to move through during a visit. So much different than doing something briefly in your home with the costume when you're taking them out. Last but not least, even though therapy animal visits are absolutely fun and they can be festive and they're about bringing smiles to people's faces, of course, we want to be mindful of the perception of the volunteerism that we do. There's a very professional element to therapy animal volunteerism where what we are doing out there with our pets actually has some pretty important and significant impacts for people. And so when members of the public or a client or a patient or a student or the facility sees an animal all dressed up in a Valentine's Day costume or a Christmas costume or a Halloween costume, it can sometimes give an impression that this isn't serious. And we want to make sure that that professional element is kind of woven into our visits. But we don't want to squash all of the fun. So just know that there are ways that you can, again, celebrate this holiday coming up in a couple of weeks. As I mentioned, you can incorporate it into how you conduct your visits, but also animals can wear a simple bandana, maybe red, maybe pink, with a cute Valentine's Day message. Obviously, you can wear, either pet partner stuff, or you could wear a Valentine's shirt. Those things are all okay. Bandanas are generally very comfortable for most pets. They don't present something big to launder. They don't present clips or snaps or buckles. So you can absolutely do something like a bandana if you so choose. I see some comments coming in, so I just want to see who's here. Hi, Claire. Oh, you've been a handler since 2005. Wow, welcome. Thanks for coming. Almost 20 years. Angela from Las Vegas. And we've got Michael, who's here, wanting to learn about becoming a therapy animal team. That's wonderful, Michael. 18-month-old golden retriever. Absolutely, your golden retriever is already eligible at his age. I do know sometimes with retrievers and Labradors and Doodles, often they need some time to maybe grow up a little bit, but we've had plenty of animals in the program that are 18 months old. If you haven't already, Michael, I would absolutely encourage you to take the online handlers course. That is something that you'll have to do anyway in order to be a volunteer. But if you do it early on in the process, a lot of times you can glean information from the course that helps you think about how you want to prepare your dog for the evaluation and eventual visits. Hi, Diane. I'm just reading yours right now. Okay, so that's about costumes. So you're saying the staff always wears costumes, including nurses and doctors. I understand. Yes. Hopefully a bandana is still exciting enough for the pet. Sounds like you do parties and lobbies related to Valentine's Day, or maybe just around holidays in general. You're saying, Diane, sometimes we'll make it more of a group visit rather than going to individual rooms, which I think makes a lot of sense, especially if where you're visiting already has programming that week or that day related to a holiday. Easier to sort of plug you as a team into that and maybe forego the individual visits that week. I think that's a great idea. Claire, you've been a volunteer for a long time too, so if you want to chime in about how you visit during holidays or commemorating certain things, we'd love to hear it. So that was the first update I wanted to share with you all. The second update or reminder is that on January 17th, so just about 2 weeks ago, we launched a new volunteer center at Pet Partners. So the volunteer center is a portion of our website that is behind a password. It is only for volunteers or prospective volunteers. So you create an account that you can then access all of your important documents related to your registration. It's also a space where you can search for resources. So Michael and other prospective handlers who might be listening, a really great place. You can even just type in your species like dog, and you can see all of the things we have related to dogs, like videos of dogs going through the evaluation, or the handler guide, or anything like that. You can access that in the volunteer center. It's also a place where you can find visiting opportunities. So if you want, you can absolutely set up your own volunteer opportunities. You don't have to go through us. It's very much a self-prescribed journey. But if you want to find some facilities in your area that are already requesting and very much hoping to have a therapy animal team come, we have a volunteer opportunities directory in the volunteer center. So for all of these reasons, it is behind a password. It's different than our public site. And on January 17th, we had to transition to a new volunteer center. The primary reason for that is because we went online for the first time in 2016, and that's 8 years ago. That's a long time in the technological world. And the volunteer center was beginning to slow down. We needed to upgrade the technology for a better user experience for all of you. Those who have successfully gotten into the volunteer center have been very complimentary, that in many ways it looks very similar. And there are some things that are actually much improved in the new volunteer center. For example, searching for resources is now much easier. You don't have to be quite so specific in your keyword search to get the types of things that you want. However, some volunteers are having a hard time transitioning to the new volunteer center. So I want to talk about that pretty briefly. If you are a brand new volunteer and you have not even yet created an account, none of this really applies to you. You'll set up an account with us very similarly to the way that you would set up any new account on any website or app. Very familiar experience. I'm going to pause because I got a comment here that I'm cutting out. I'm going to ask my colleague Bree to let me know she watches this. Okay, Bree says it's okay. So I'm thinking, Diane, if it cut out for you, it might be on your end. So again, if you're a new volunteer with the Volunteer Center, nothing's going to feel odd to you. But if you created an account in the Volunteer Center before January 17th, some people are experiencing some issues. So I want to talk through that. We're going to drop a link in here that will take you to a page that explains exactly how to set up a new account on the new Volunteer Center. On that page, there are really clear instructions about what to do. A lot of times, though, of course, it might be written in a way that doesn't feel clear to you. Sometimes people don't slow down and read it. So I want to kind of walk through a few things. When you land on the page that we are going to link up, you will see new to Pet Partners, looking for more, set up an account. If you're new, go there, gonna feel familiar. There's another section that says already a volunteer, here's what you need to do. The big thing is when you click on the login page, you need to then click create an account. What a lot of people are trying to do is to use their old credentials to log in, and that won't work. You need to click create an account. When you create the account, it is very important that you use the email address and zip code associated with your old account. So don't use a new email address. If you relocated, don't use your new zip code, because the way that the old Volunteer Center is going to speak to the new one and sync up all of your stuff is if we have you using the email address and zip code we've always had for you on file. If you need to change your login or your email or your physical address, you can absolutely do that down the road, but we're talking about just setting up your new account. So once you enter in that email address, you will then get an email to your inbox. Again, very similar to any other website. When you need to change your password, change your login, sign up for a new account, it is going to send like a confirmation email to you, and you need to follow the instructions in there, and then you will be into the new Volunteer Center. A big mistake people are making are, again, not using the email address associated with their account. So if you're having trouble, that is very possibly a cause. Or when you click the login from the page I just linked, you are likely trying to enter your old credentials, but what we need you to do is actually create an account. Once you create the account, when you log into the Volunteer Center on the back end, our system knows it marries those two together and all your information is there. If you don't see your information, most likely what you did was set up a whole new account with a new email address. And what people do then, and I understand this, is they panic. They don't see their information and they start recreating their registrations. If you see a blank Volunteer Center account and you are a current volunteer, most likely there was a misstep, something went wrong. Contact us. We can absolutely get these merged on the back end, but there's no need to recreate all of your information. We have all of it. We just need it to be able to appear for you. If you need assistance, you can contact us. We are experiencing somewhat high volumes of customer service requests. It might take us a few days to get back to you. There's no need to submit a request again. We will absolutely answer people in the order that we can. We are dedicating more customer service hours to try to get to you faster, but submitting multiple requests might slow us down a little bit. So if you can just wait a couple of days, somebody will get to you. But I did want to try to highlight a few of the missteps people are making. They're not creating the account at all. They're trying to log in with old stuff is a big one. The other one is that they're not clicking create an account. I know it's really, really hard to hear me verbally say that. But if you go to the site that we linked up, everything is there. If you follow those instructions, you're likely going to have success. We even created a frequently asked questions document that is linked off that page. So if you're running into a problem and you open that up, there are like, here's the 8 most common things people might be doing wrong, and you might be able to fix it yourself. I'm going to stop there on the tech stuff and see what's coming in. Okay, Diane, I see that you are having problems logging in. I'm hoping that you submitted request for help. I can't help you right now during this live. Try to figure that out. But you're not able to sign on. I see that. So we'll make a note of your name. I'll make sure that there's a request from you. Okay. And then, Diane, getting to your next comment here. Yes, support is us. We are support. You could also get something from email inbox of operations or retriever. So that is the other thing. And that, thanks for reminding me, Diane, is sometimes the password confirmation email will go to your spam. And that just depends on how you set up your email filters or what your email host has decided might be suspicious. So Diane, I'm making a note of your name and your comments here. I'll take a look at what you've submitted for assistance and we'll try to loop back to you. And then Diane, I see there's another question here. You want to know why you can't participate in other therapy animal organizations. So yes, that is a policy. The reason that we have that in place is because we have a certain set of policies and procedures for pet partners. It increases our risk to some degree if people are visiting with multiple organizations. Keeping track of the different policies and procedures does raise our risk to a degree as the organization that insures you. Also, if an incident were to happen on a visit, there is going to be some question about who you were volunteering for. It might be easy to say, well, I told them I was coming as a pet partners team, but it will absolutely create some complications if an incident were to happen, if somebody were to get injured or there were an accident, and now you have two insurance policies that are covering your visits to a specific facility. Those are the primary reasons we don't allow you to register with another organization. I'm going to scroll up and see if there are any other questions here. And I don't see much else. Oh, here comes a few. Yeah, okay, Diane, I see your follow up here. Yes, so the clarity around registering with and volunteering on behalf of two different organizations absolutely applies to when it is another therapy animal registry that has an evaluation and offers insurance. If you are looking to just join a club, you know, maybe it's a breed specific club for dogs, or maybe it's, you know, anything like that is totally okay. That's not a therapy animal registry. So that's really the distinction to think about is, does the organization offer an evaluation and do they insure people when they are going out into places like hospitals, schools, universities, airports, senior care homes, whatever it might be. If they do that, they are another registry and we don't allow you to register with both. If it is just a club or a group of people who have just general interests in therapy, animal volunteerism, or dog training, all of that is absolutely okay. I would also let people know, especially if you're newer to Pet Partners, that we do have what's called community partners. Those are groups of Pet Partners teams that exist in a specific geographic area. That is a way for people, of course, to connect around their passion for their pet, their passion for this type of volunteerism. So if you are looking for community, that's an option as well. Not every place in the US has one of those. So I can absolutely see why for some folks, they might want to join other types of clubs, and that's fine. As long as it's not a registry. If you're interested in knowing what community partners might exist in your general geographic area, when you are in the volunteer center, you can search for community partners. So you can look at your state and see who is all listed there for local groups of Pet Partners teams called community partners. Mo, I do see your question here. I don't have the manual in front of me, so I can't give you the page number. I will write down your name and I'm happy to send that to you. The other thing you can do is log into the volunteer center and you can look up dual registration and the policy should exist there. I'm happy to send that to you after the call. No problem. So HOPE AACR Animal Assisted Crisis Response, we do have some people that are legacy members of AACR with Hope. So that is possible. I don't know if you mean joining both Pet Partners AACR and Hope AACR, but crisis response is somewhat different in terms of the registry being for more general visits. Also with AACR, we have a strong commitment to, neighbors helping neighbors. So we don't want to be sending people on plane rides to be doing crisis response. So there can be a need for multiple AACR registrations potentially. Not Pet Partners, AACR, and Hope. Not sure I'm understanding quite, Lindy, what you're asking. So you say not Pet Partners, AACR, and Hope. I will wait for a clarification. Pet Partners and AAIP, how do they connect? Great question. So AAIP is for professionals. So these are individuals who work alongside their animal in practice. So think about occupational therapists, physical therapists, mental health counselors, teachers, people who actually leverage their animal as part of their professional services. It is a professional organization for those individuals. So it's quite different from Pet Partners, where this is volunteerism. It is not paid work. It is not part of your professional endeavors. Two different needs for the people who participate in those two organizations. AAAP offers different types of education, different avenues for certification. You can imagine the differences when an animal is present in practice for 8 hours versus when a volunteer therapy animal team goes for 1 hour to a school. So it used to be that professionals would still come to Pet Partners because there wasn't a space for them to receive specific education or specific support for what it is they're doing. So they used to come to us, and we realized it's not really the right fit for people who are working with their animal as opposed to volunteering with their animal. There is a connection. I would consider us sister organizations, but one is a professional organization and one is a volunteer organization. You will see some of the same types of language between the two organizations. If you're a professional, it's still really important to advocate for your pet. It's still very important to consider their well-being. It's very important to support them through presence, eye contact, touch, speech. So you'll see some similarities, but again, some real divergences too in terms of how those animals participate in this separate organizations. Just scrolling up through the comments here. Did I answer the question about AAIP and Pet Partners? I guess I spent more time talking about how they're different. The connection point is, again, that sister organization founded on a lot of same foundational best practices, but then policies, procedures, and additional best practices vary a little bit between volunteers and somebody in the professional space. Okay, Lindy, I see your questions about AACR here. I'm jotting them down so I can provide some personalized follow-up. So you stopped doing Pet Partners AACR and you're wondering how that integrates with Hope, I think. I am going to, if you're okay, follow up after this call, just because I'm not 100% sure I'm understanding if you're talking about a Pet Partners registration, Hope, and where you're at with your AACR one. So let me follow up. So now we're looping back in the next comment to AAIP. Yes, the certification is different between AAIP. There's different coursework involved in the certification there. On the Pet Partner side, we don't certify, we register teams as therapy animal teams. So there's some differences in language there as well. But yes, you can become a AAIP member. You can choose to go through the certification processes there. Some people are both. There are individuals who are also registered with Pet Partners. Some of that can be because they aren't aware yet of AAAIP and that there is a home for professionals. Some do simply also volunteer in their free time with their animal. So it is different though. And I encourage you to take a look at the website if you are a professional working alongside your pet in practice. Okay, I've taken almost an entire half an hour. So if there are no further questions, yes, Perla, you can join both. That's totally fine. I am going to hop off. I do know that Mo is waiting for a follow-up from me about dual registration. Happy to point you to the resources that could very clearly outline that. Lindy, I'll get back with you on AACR and make sure I understand your questions. And I think everybody else had their questions answered live. Diane, I know you're having login issues as well. So I will make sure I can find record of what you need help with and we'll follow up with you. Okay, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a happy Valentine's Day later this month.